Hey, look at that.
Hey guys, welcome to our book talk discussion for this evening. We're going to be talking about All Our Wrong Todays by, how do you pronounce his name?
Elan Mastai? Elan Mastai? Elan Mastai? Tom, you want to try?
Elon? Yeah, I don't know. Elon? I've heard it, but I don't remember how it's pronounced.
Elan Mastai?
No.
Elan.
Maybe
Elan.
Elan?
That's what I'm putting my bet on that one.
I don't want to say it wrong again, but Elan Mastai. It was a book that I suggested, and everybody read it. We're going to be talking about it in depth this evening, which means there are going to be spoilers. Before we get to the super spoilery parts, I think we can just kind of go around the room and give our initial thoughts about it. Maybe I could just go first and tell you guys why I decided to suggest it. I'm part of the first to read program with Penguin Random House, and so this is a book that was kind of made available, and so I was like, ooh, that sounds kind of interesting, and I got it, and then I don't even think I read it during the time period I was supposed to read it in, but I started it, and I was like, oh, let me see if there's an audiobook for it. So I think the audiobook really, really helped as far as my interest went, because it is read by the author, and the book itself is a fictional memoir, and I think it just worked really, really well. And the author is also a screenplay writer, so I'm sure he has to have some kind of acting experience, because he just read it really, really well. And so I just kind of listened to it on my own, and I was probably an hour into it when I was enjoying it so much that I was like, John, you have to check it out. So he made me rewind it, and we listened to it together. And then after we read the book, he enjoyed it so much that he wanted to make it a suggestion for the book club. And so that's what we ended up doing, and it got selected. And oh, hey!
Hi, Harold.
Hey, Sugar Bear. Thanks for popping in. Oh, look! It's not working. You can't see?
Uh-oh.
Because that sucks. Donna's here.
Anybody else having issues?
Can't see.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't hear me say that, would they?
Right, no, I don't think they would hear.
So say that in the chat. Anybody else?
Wait, can everyone see? Everyone else see? No? It says we're live.
It does.
I mean, I know I paused it on my end, but that shouldn't do anything. Okay, Jeff said, I think Sugar Bear's trolling. All right, so John and I read it, and we really enjoyed it, and we thought we would bring it to the book club to share it. And that's kind of where we're at.
I think it's my second 5-star since Ready Player One.
Since
really? I might have more than that, but as of right now, that's all I know is those two are my like top favorites.
So you give it 5 stars?
Yeah. I haven't done it yet, but it'll be in my Goodreads to-do list.
I also gave it 5 stars, because I don't know if it was the author's voice or the way he delivered it or what. It was just a very, very, I feel like he just grabbed my heart, and he had it in his fist the whole time I was reading the book. And I don't think I feel that often. And while I was listening to it, it was just it felt very unexplainable to me. It was just oh, this book is doing something to me. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but
I enjoyed it because it was smart and witty, and yet it was done in a way that it was used a lot of things you probably wouldn't really normally understand if given to you in a different given to you differently in a different media, or I don't know. I just felt like that it made me feel smart in a layman's way. How about that?
How did you feel about it, Tom? I know you're
Well.
Uh-oh.
Which chat is this going on anyway? Because I'm not seeing anything on the Google chat.
What do you mean? You're not seeing anything?
On our Hangout chat, we don't have the other people on there. That's all.
Oh! It's in the YouTube. There's quite a few people on the YouTube.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to spoil the Flash for you, but reading this was like an extended version of a Flash episode. It's like whenever you don't understand anything on the Flash, Speed Force. That's the explanation for it. And I felt that way here because parts where, like you said, oh yeah, I have this. I had the way I understood it, like he has this corporeal body, and they have to put the skid suit on to survive the test, the traveling back. But then he doesn't have a body when he gets there. He apparently is in the original Tom's head. You know what I mean? So it's like, how does that work? Because they all have all the same consciousnesses, all in the same body.
There was at one point where it explained it. So basically, with him going back in time, he was in 1965. Is that the right year?
Yeah, I think so.
1965. Yeah.
I think
let's just go with that for now. He was back in the 60s.
Enough, yeah.
All right. So he went back in the 60s. Him changing something at that point created a completely different timeline. This one no longer existed. So that when he was how they explained the temporal drag, that he went back into time, that he was the anchor point, that he had to exist in order to go back in time to create the alternate timeline. Right. So his consciousness kind of like went into the other one and kind of overrode it.
But what happened to his body? Yeah, what happened to his body though? I mean, he had to have a body to come back. That's what I mean. Speed Force. Yeah.
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Well, because John was his body at that point.
Yeah.
He
took over John's body, and then the consciousness.
How many bodies are there? Are there 3 bodies? Is like overlaid? No, that's not a serious question. It's stuff like that. It's like, well, how does that work? So,
well, before we get into like the details and the meat and potatoes of the book, I did see your review, but just for the people that are watching, what did you give it, Tom?
I gave it 3 stars.
Okay.
If it had gone the way I wanted it to go, I would have given it 10 stars.
How did you want it to go?
I was hoping that it was all in his mind, and that we would only discover that at the end of the book, that he was like actually in a mental hospital, and that that's where I wanted it to go. So,
well, I mean, I guess half of that.
Yeah, it was close, but then like, this is a time travel thing. Like, all right, fine, but no, I mean, the chapter where he had John, that was really. It's like, oh, finally, we got the unreliable narrating. I only did it for 1 chapter. It's like, oh, come on, really?
But so Jeff brings up a good point, and when you're talking about the skin suit, he was supposed to be in another, and now I don't remember the term, like another shield thing that was supposed to make it so that he couldn't interact with the world. But in his case,
the diffusion sphere.
Right? Yeah. So
he didn't do that.
Correct. Which is why he was able to interact with the world and bump the.
So yeah, again, that's the corporeal body. If that's one, where do the other 2 go?
Well, he wasn't supposed to. Basically, he was interacting with things like he was a ghost. Like he wasn't.
He wasn't a ghost though. He could, like, if somebody hit him, he would be hit. You know what I mean? Yeah. It would have been someone to go pass through it. Yeah, they just he was invisible, and then the pulse disrupt his invisibility field.
Right.
So they would have seen him. So that's one body, but again, where are the other 2?
But why is there other 2? What does the other 2 mean?
Because he goes back in time the second time to correct the one, and then he makes it worse, and then the third time they get sent it back to correct the second time.
And then it ended up being 3 different consciousnesses and it battling out. And
and he was like having a major meltdown during that.
Yeah, all in the same body. But again, where did the other 2 go? That's all. I'll leave it at that. Let's move on to something more productive. That's not. That's not again. Speed Force.
He was like, "I found a loophole. I don't like it."
So I don't know. Jeff said maybe if they get M. Night Shyamalan on the movie, they are working on the movie though. I think, which I would love to see.
I really want to see how they play out the final thing, and I'm really hoping they explain it well. I just don't think they will.
No, they won't. Type chat was really hard to explain.
Especially if you have like incorporeal bodies and then disappearing or reappearing, or how are they gonna deal with that battle and that fight in his head between the 3 of them? That's what I want to know.
Well, the other thing too, I'm sorry, Desiree, you were gonna say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say that today, like, we were trying to discuss that because I was like, wait, so are there 2 timelines working in parallel? And John was like, no, there's only one timeline. I was like, then what about where are the dreams coming from? Like, he's dreaming.
That was the universe's way of making that exist somewhere else in like a subconscious level, not a conscious level.
Right. But they're all the one person.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, what were you saying?
Well, no, and the other thing I didn't care for time travel wise is toward the end of the book where there are 3 states where this can end. One is he stops himself from interfering, in which case his original world continues to exist.
Right.
The second case is where he fails, and the machine keeps running, and he comes out with like the victor case.
Right.
Or the one which is like, oh, and then the other one is where he stops, like the experiment fails, but he stops the reactor or the Goodreads engine, and that's the world where John is created.
Right.
And he automatically dismisses the first one, like, oh, I can't do that. I can't stop me if I say something from interfering. So locks us into the 2 other options, and we know he's going to pick the one with John because that's the most satisfying ending. So
Right.
It's like, oh, come on, that was bullshit. That was lazy. But then again, when I saw how he ended up the book, I mean, it made sense, but that was rather a little too sentimental for me.
I mean, I guess at its core, to me, it was a love story. And not even like...
As I read this, I said I could see this appealing to this. Why this appeals to the Desirai demographic, especially at the end.
But like, and it wasn't even about like Tom or John's love story. To me, it was about Ursula and Goodreads. What's his first name?
Lionel.
Like
Yeah. For me, that was the real story. It was about them and their love and what they were willing to do to be together.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was one of the good parts, though, where they found that, you know, as he was doing these time jumps and rewriting her memories, it was actually giving her cancer.
Yep.
You know, and it's like, yeah, the things, you know, when you pursue that thing to a single-minded extent, you don't realize the damage you're doing when you're doing it.
And that was just like discovering that, because he loved her so much. He was doing this because he wanted to spend time with her, and here them being together, it was what was literally killing her. Like, I can't even imagine the weight of knowing that for Lionel. Like, that's so heavy.
And how he accelerated her death trying to fix her.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You know,
So you're messing with things you don't understand.
Yeah.
Like time travel.
You know, as much as a screw up as Tom was, he realized very quickly that when you try to fix time travel, you can't really.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't have to time travel to know that.
Well, yeah, I think we've got enough to understand it.
But that's
what stories tell us.
But that's what bothered me about the ending, because the world he comes back to is exactly the one he created
the first
time around. I would have liked how they did Flashpoint this past season in The Flash, where certain things are the same, but certain things would be different. That's what I was hoping to see.
Oh, they finally made it a Flashpoint?
Yeah.
Nice.
At the start of the season.
We haven't been caught up, yeah.
Okay.
So, like I had said, the first time that I read it, it was pretty much the audiobook. And then I was trying to go back and actually read it physically. And listening to him when he comes back, I guess after he was in 1965, and then he comes back to this 2016, that whole chapter that was just cursing. I wondered, I knew what it sounded like. I was just wondering what it looked like.
Yeah.
So I was reading that the other night, and I was like, I don't know where he's up to.
Yeah. Listen to, you don't know where you're at in the list of fucks and shits.
Right.
This is great.
I think even the synchronized reading on the Kindle had problems with that, because, well, I guess it doesn't really matter. Oh, no, you missed the fourth one in this line right here. Yeah, no.
But that was great. And I think that's what I like about this book. The majority of it is humor involved in some of the one-liners, the not even just the humor, but the intelligence in the humor, like in certain areas, and how he displays it with his emotion through the audiobook. If you don't listen to the audiobook, you're completely missing out.
Yes.
This guy was great.
He's actually a really good narrator. Yes.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Jen. Desiree.
So I don't know if it was like his actual writing or his delivery, but I liked the way every chapter ended, because for me, I felt like it was such a clear and obvious end of a chapter. So I don't know if it was the way he was saying it, but I was like, oh, okay, this is the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember listening to it and being like, wow, this guy's really good. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh snap, it's the author. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it makes sense with it being a memoir that he would do that.
Yes, because you get away with anything.
Oh no, this was done a little too well. Like it's just the delivery is great.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the technical things I liked about it was at the very beginning how he describes, like, all these everything you see about time travel is wrong, because not only are you going back in time, you're going back distance-wise too. So and they say, oh yeah, you got to think about that, because if you're,
I was like, oh, somebody's getting closer.
Yeah. And that was one of the best things about the latter part of the book, when he goes back the second time, and Goodrider doesn't tell him, yeah, you go back in real time.
In real time.
And he says, well, you didn't tell me how long you're going to be, like Tom to him, or to go, it's like,
that's actually insane.
I had trouble listening to that, because that triggered my anxiety.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my God.
Just the idea of going through like multiple millennia, how far was it?
It was
50 years. Okay, not millennia. Okay, decades.
Yes, 50 years it was about. Yeah,
but I would imagine
16 to 65 or something like, or 63.
It was 50 something years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he basically said that, like, after 5 to 10 years, he did all his wigging out, and then at that point, it was just like,
yeah.
What else?
Stuck with it, yeah.
Well, would you actually come out of that sane?
I don't think I would. I definitely don't think I would.
50 years of watching the entire world go around you without even having without
that room,
do anything.
That room.
Yeah, he was just in that room.
Yeah, he follows the tau radiation back to the original Goodrider Ridge, so wherever that was, that's his path.
Because he was like stuck there seeing Lionel build the thing in reverse, wasn't he?
Right. Yeah. Basically take it apart.
It took him a few minutes to realize that that's what he was doing. He didn't know going into it. So there was an elapsed amount of time where he was still like, "What's going on? I don't understand. Why is he talking backwards?" And yeah, it's ridiculous.
Surprise.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things I really liked about the book, is that, when you start the book, he sounds a lot different at the end. Like, he sounds like he's an adult at the end of the book rather than the kid he is at the beginning.
Right. So. Yeah, he definitely goes through a transformation, but I think that was like...
I think you spend a lot of growing watching the world go by for 50 years.
Yeah.
But outside of that, he was a combination of different people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
3 lifetimes of experiences. 30 years at least, right?
I don't remember what happened to Victor, though. Did they just shut him up, or did they find a way to get rid of him?
I don't know. I think I don't remember Victor being a part of his consciousness at the end.
Well, he was at the end because it was in Victor's interest that he fail, so that Victor's world could go on, he could continue to survive. So, but I don't remember what happened to him. I don't think he's part of the debate anymore, but we'll see.
Was there a particular character that you would say was your favorite?
Which version of Tom did you like?
Yeah, because they're all pretty awful.
Or Penelope.
I didn't think he was awful. I appreciated his honesty and with all his flaws. Like, I just...
Yeah, but he doesn't do anything about it. He just blames it on his dad at the beginning. And that's one of the things he learns looking at Gottrider, how he fails and fails and fails, and all science is you fail less. You know, the one time you succeed, and then there you go. So that's why what.
Jeff said, "Boo, he was awful." So, Jeff,
Yeah.
Are you saying Tom was awful?
Yeah, Tom was. Now,
I mean, but like the description of John was a jerk though. John was like conceited and didn't care about other people. Like, I don't know. I feel like they kind of described him as like Steve Jobs. That's who I kind of felt like they were modeling him after a little bit. That was the impression that I got.
Well, I have to say that the character I remember most is George Costanza from Seinfeld. I'm going to pretend to be an architect, and I'm going to call myself Art Vandelay. So how the hell would he know to be an architect? Because that's where they brought the consciousness stuff into play.
Oh, so Jeff said he was a passively misogynistic douchebag.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I think he seemed pretty overt with the office intern, Beth. I think her name was. Because he did the nasty things to her, and she didn't like that. Then the nice Baron comes up and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And it's like, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it stems from how he treated his first few relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked his sister Greta.
Yeah.
I feel like she was very funny.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just like to the point. She didn't want to hear any crap.
Mm-hmm.
This bullshit again.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the family dynamic that he created as contrast with his first self, his first world. Yeah, where the mother was the successful one and the father was on the back burner. Well, the father in World 2 or Earth 2, let's say, wasn't the I don't know. They like in World 2, the wife didn't like walk all over him like the husband in Earth 1 did to the wife.
Right.
He wasn't as successful. That's really what they built on. And then in World 3, he had no parents, so it's like okay.
I don't know. There's just so many different layers to this book. I mean, the psychology behind how each family turned out, the differences between how John or Tom knew a lot of the different stuff, and he could talk to his second dad about it, and he's like, "When did you read my book?"
Mm-hmm.
The book.
Well, she had. Yeah, Penny actually had.
Oh, Penny did.
Yes, Penny actually read the book. So, and I thought that was interesting when the mother was trying to get them into her field of expertise by going through The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, Victorian novels and such. So
let's talk a little bit about what happened to Penelope.
Which one?
The first one.
Okay.
Not Penelope. Yeah. So
not Penelope Prime, not Penelope 1 2. I mean.
So a lot of people were upset that, here is the introduction of this very strong female character. She wants to be a chrononaut. She wanted to be the first in space. And, she ends up being, I guess, the plot device for the rest of the book.
Yes, you could say that.
I don't... You can't do that any other way, really.
You can't do that any other way because Tom was Tom?
No. And Penelope was Penelope.
I'm saying that was using her biology to actually it's a crazy twist in the book. It's where a lot of the stuff stems from this initial thing happening. So I just there might have been another way to make it, but it's just I don't think it could be used as a, oh my god, why is she used as a plot point. You couldn't reverse the roles. I
mean, look, me personally, I'm okay with it because I feel like an author should tell their story however they want to tell their story. And if that's how it plays out, that's how it plays out. But I know that people get really, really upset because this is how females are represented in books, right? So I just wanted to get your thoughts and just see. How you feel?
It seemed really out of character, but again, I realize that's the point. I think he's trying to make is that she excels in all these fields, but yet there's this other side that makes these decisions, which probably aren't the best. Because he said she has a history. Oh, she likes having unprotected sex with strangers for whatever reason.
There was how did he explain it?
Yeah, I know there was an explanation, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, it was something about her feelings about fate.
Oh yeah, because she was depressed because she wasn't able to be an astronaut, and that's when that all unraveled. So I think it's more about the psychology of the people doing the science as well as the science itself. There's two different.
I also really like the explanation of how when you invent something, you invent the accident of that.
Accident, yes. Now he ports that over into people too, because Penelope Wechsler Prime got the accident of Tom, so to speak.
Yeah.
Literally.
What were you gonna say?
I don't know. I don't know what I was gonna say. I think I was gonna ask how you felt about the writing, like the writing itself, because there are a lot of people.
Was good.
I loved the writing. I loved the way Tom spoke. I loved his thoughts. I loved like everything about the writing. But I know people said that it was like very pretentious, or just.
It's the character. He had to give it in a specific way.
Yeah.
So I mean, don't you see Tom or John Barron being very pretentious?
Well, with all due respect to our chat audience and present company, if you want pretentious, read John Green. That's pretentious. Who the hell talks like that?
Yeah, at least Tom was like 30 something.
Yeah. So
not 15, but there's just there was a lot of sentimental things in it, right? Like I appreciated the references to the lemon tree and the lemon tarts, and
Well, how do you feel?
And was it grilled cheese that his mom made his dad all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, that he kept trying to get right and just couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, but it allows him to see a part of his father that he had blinders on that he couldn't see as a kid.
Right.
Yeah. So.
But you are right in your review. You said there was a lot of sentimentality in it that it bleeds it. No matter where you go in the book, there's an emotion attached to everything, and I don't know. I kind of liked it. It kind of made you a little bit more engrossed in the environment and what's going on, and Tom's feelings,
right,
and what he's thinking at the time of certain things happening. Now, my question is that how do you feel about the Great Expectations reference? That's the book that she's reading when she dies.
I don't remember where the tie-in was for that.
I think I know, but I don't want to spoil Great Expectations for people. So,
oh,
sorry.
All right, well then I guess we'll leave that one alone.
Okay. Unless you want to like block it out and say, all right,
I don't think we can block it out.
Do people care?
I don't know how many people. Jeff, you ever gonna read Great Expectations? Anybody in the chat gonna read Great Expectations?
It is actually a really good book. I would recommend it. But if I recall correctly, and so I'm sure people could look this up on Wikipedia. That is that I think the name is Pip. He is, as a boy, he meets this convict in the graveyard, and I forget what the interaction is, but the convict actually becomes his benefactor, and it allows him like a different life other than the one he would have led as a street urchin had they not crossed paths.
Okay.
So that's
it's basically it is a really good reference.
Yes. Yeah, it does tie in.
So now, but remind me, the last thing she said, was that a line from the book?
I don't recall. I have to look it up.
Okay, because what she was saying was, he's lost my love. You have to help him. Something along.
You must find him?
You must find him?
Now, the thing is that we didn't know who she was talking about.
Right, because she was saying this to Tom. Yeah. And the assumption was that she was talking to his dad because she was saying my love. But I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it sounds like it's from a poem or something like that, but I didn't really look for it, so I can't say where the source was.
Trying to think what else.
Well, while you're thinking, one of the WTF moments I had while reading this was when Goodrider suddenly becomes this James Bond supervillain, and all he needed was like a white furry cat to stroke. You know, oh look, I'm going to kidnap your family. Where the hell did this come from? And you know, he explains it later in the book, but it's just like, oh my god, that was such a jolt. It's like,
what's going on right now? Yeah, I remember feeling that.
Yeah, because it's just so out of character.
Yeah.
So,
but I did like how, like, I really feel like everything in this book has a really good explanation. It might not be like a physically like a really possible thing, but he actually uses different words to try and explain to everything how everything works.
Right.
And it's kind of impressive.
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, because I think he was saying like his grandfather was some kind of a scientist or something, and he was into that sort of thing, and so he wanted to make sure that he did the correct research to be able to talk about some of the things that happened in the right way and not just make shit up.
Right.
I may have read way too many interviews with the author.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah, because I emailed him and I was like,
hey.
That's
better. Oh, yeah, he said he'd answer questions, right?
Yeah, he said he would answer questions, but he also said, here are some Q&As that I've already done. So I was like, oh, well, let me do my homework and make sure I read all these.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
And I only got through like half of them. There's a lot of them. But I definitely do remember thinking, though, like, this would make an excellent movie. It felt like a movie the whole time. And what's really funny is that he, as an author, mentions that, that's what he does. He writes screenplays all the time. And here, he wanted to do something completely different.
Right, and now it's going to end up a movie again.
Terms at all. He wanted to do something that you could only do in a book. And, it may end up... I think he's working on the script. Right
now. He's the one doing the screenplay for it.
That would make sense.
Yeah. Makes total sense.
In order for it to come out the way he would want it, it'd probably be the best bet. You give it to somebody else, it's going to go to...
I wonder how long that'll be in production. Because, I need it now.
You should find out where it's shooting.
Well, he's from Canada.
Probably Vancouver, then.
Don't they make, like, all the... Isn't that where Flash is filmed?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know.
Majority of the pilots start in Vancouver or Montreal, and then whenever someone picks it up, it goes elsewhere.
Yeah, because it's actually set in Toronto, so maybe it'd be a Toronto gig. I don't know.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Yep. So, I think like an unexpected turn was kind of where John's mom is like, she pulls him aside and she's like, I have depression. And I take this, that, and the other thing for it. And he's just like, does Dad know? But
that's kind of she was
very concerned. Obviously, she was very concerned because he was like saying all these crazy things. But
how do you go back to your other family and start saying these? Oh, I just screwed up all of life.
What do you mean your other family? What do you mean your other family?
Well, it's a second family. That's different from what you grew up with. But how do you explain that stuff and not
sound crazy?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think you can. I mean, that's like my worst fear is having something, very paranormal or supernatural happen to me and trying to explain it to someone and like
that's right.
and having someone think I'm crazy. So
right. That's why I was hoping it was purely like all in his head and he was an unreliable narrator. That's what I was hoping for.
But then wouldn't that have kind of been like expected? Like wouldn't that have been the easier?
No, I think the way he did it was the easier way. Because what I would have liked is like have a chapter, like one chapter devoted to Tom, one to John, and one to Victor, and not in chronological order.
That would work. I don't know. That would have been crazy. But I just feel like after Fight Club, I don't feel like anybody could pull that one on me again.
Well, yeah, it is kind of an M. Night Shyamalan move. You have to tie that back. But that's what I was hoping. Because, I love unreliable narrator books. So that's what I was going for. But yeah, you guys should actually get caught up on The Flash. Because a lot of these same issues will come up. And it's like, how do you tell somebody that life is totally different?
Right.
Sort of an issue.
Did you ever watch the cartoon?
I haven't seen the cartoon.
The Flashpoint Paradox?
Yeah, I haven't. I have it. I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, let me know when
I have
you
the
watch
comic
it.
books. I have the
I would
comic
like to talk
books
to
too.
you about it.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, the whole, I mean, I can see your reference in how the Flash and going back and stepping on something or doing something different changes all a ripple effect in time.
Well, the example, if I recall correctly, they use like a teacup, like a China teacup. He says, "Okay, here's reality." And he smashes it on the thing. It's like, okay, now try to put it back together, and he puts it basically back together. But there are cracks and such, so there are really differences, right?
No, that was a great analogy, but
yeah, that's what I was hoping for here. But hey, totally fine that he didn't go that route, but
Do you have any questions?
Not anymore, not that I can think of.
I had seen it when you posted your review on Goodreads. I don't know if I got a tweet or whatever. When I texted John, it's like,
she sent it to me instantly with a sad face. She was really hoping that you'd enjoy the hell out of this.
I liked it. Three is I liked it. Yes, I liked it. It's not that I didn't like it. 3 is a very very respectable.
Oh no, she was expecting you to love it.
Yeah, well. Then I guess for you, because I was hoping for a 5-star on the Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and that didn't happen either. I think you gave it a 2, if I recall correctly.
No, I did not.
Oh,
I did not. I can't remember what I gave it to. I barely ever give 2s. I think I've only ever 1-starred.
You talked about it then. You talked about it on the chat. I'll have to go back and look. No, but it was good. I mean, I appreciated reading it, and it's something I would not have picked up otherwise. And that's probably why you joined book clubs. So.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. I think, and this just happened recently with another book that John and I finished, where it had very, very conflicting reviews depending on whether or not somebody read the book or listened to the audiobook.
Oh, really?
I feel like you're gonna get that a lot.
No, I don't think you would get that a lot. I don't feel like I've encountered that too often, where it seems so divided, and then like I actually noticed, oh hey, these people are reading it and these people are listening to it.
Okay, I guess I see that.
Now, the only time I've actually, this is between TV show and book, so it's not exactly the same thing, but I noticed that this implies superiority, it's just a difference that the people who've read A Song of Ice and Fire know the names of the characters right off the bat, whereas the ones who watch you, that's that guy, it's like they don't have all the names down. So
what's interesting is when like the Game of Thrones hype had started, I was like, I keep hearing about that. My friend was reading the books, but she said, watch the show first because there are a lot of characters to keep track of, and you're going to get lost if you start by reading the book.
Right.
Is what she had said to me.
Just throwing hearts in the chat.
Just like Game of Thrones, yes.
Except that this is not that this is Game of Thrones now, but the books are told like each chapter is told from a character's perspective, so it's told in a different way. So,
have you played the Game of Thrones Telltale games?
No, I don't have them. I've been thinking about getting them. Yeah, I've been thinking about getting them. No. All
right, let's get away from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I was gonna say back to topic. Sorry.
So
let me ask you: would you read any of his other work?
Yeah, I don't think he has any, but yeah, I think I would. Okay. I think I definitely would. I mean, do you feel like this was a romance painted as a science fiction? Do you feel like it had equal parts of both?
I think it's easy to see you could tell, like from the very start of the book, okay, Yeah, you guys lived in the screwed up world. Okay, and this guy has this Getrider engine. Well, something's going to happen that's going to change that. Number one, and then it became pretty clear to me which world was going to make it. It's like right when it's Penny. Oh, well, we know how this is going to go. It's just a question of how do we get there. So,
but now, what do you think about how the entire story is told, right? Because in the beginning, he starts off by saying, I'm from a different world. And then in the end, you see that the whole time he was just like, it was the novel that he was writing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is like what happened in The Fisherman. But anyway, carry on.
And then at one point, he's like, oh, I need to be a little bit more detached. Let me write this in the third person. But then he's like, no, I can't.
I like that part. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, it shows you how different, when you're telling a story, what the differences mean. So.
And I think that actually sets the stage for how emotional each setting is. Mm-hmm. Because he wanted to tell it from that specific vantage point so that you got that out of it. That's kind of what I like the most about that there's multiple layers to this book that we could probably talk about different sections on like to no end because there's so much going on in each scene. Mm-hmm. And see that's going to be hard to do in film is because there's so much going on in each scene. Like in order to get those multiple layers, it's just not the same.
You can convey a lot of media. Yeah, but you can convey a lot of information in music. And sight, so it remains to be seen.
Right. I mean,
like we can actually see his city. Yeah, we can actually see the world he comes from. Okay, I get it. But then, when he was like, "Oh, well, in my world, we did this." It's like, well, yeah, but you screwed it up now, didn't you? So what does that make you?
Right.
What are your thoughts in regards to some of the technology that he had taken for granted? So, for example. Always picking a, perfectly ripened avocado. Jeff loves avocados. and I think we all know the struggle of like waiting.
He brings that up a couple times.
Yeah. And he actually eats a rotten one. Yes. And the expired yogurt because he doesn't know what expiration dates are.
Oh. You did say something about throwing that up.
See, now that you could rarely see in a film, and that wouldn't take that long to show.
Right.
Because you could show him, like, you easily see him cut, it's brown. And he's still this isn't going to end well. And then he eats the yogurt. It's definitely not going to end well. So.
Jeff said, I have never made it to that state with an avocado. So I think for me, right, it wasn't the flying cars. It wasn't... the food, because all food was like just perfectly made so that you got all the nutrients and it tasted exactly how you wanted it to. I think for me it was, whatever the sleep dream thing they had.
How it attenuates, your brainwaves to bring you out into a dream of your own. Where the dreams are about you, not about,
Right, but not even just that, but the fact that you got optimal amount of rest and then you peacefully woke up.
Yes.
What about the fact that no matter what literary piece you picked up, whatever you read, it was attuned to your liking. So you wouldn't have anybody giving bad reviews over.
People wouldn't be able to review it because it would be so subjective.
Right. Exactly.
But isn't that limiting? That's kind of narcissistic in a way.
Yeah.
Another book about me. Hooray.
Well, I mean, everybody wants to feel like they're the hero of the story, right?
Right. But when you're always the hero of the story, it reminded me of a story. By what the hell is his name? Paul. I can't remember his last name. But anyway, it's like you're in heaven. You wake up, do a perfect breakfast, go play 18 holes of golf, all holes in one. It's like, well, where's the challenge? You get bored really, really quickly. So, and that's why I thought it was good that now their world is about making entertainment. Like, is it entertaining?
Right.
No. That's the only way you have left to go.
So for me, the sleep dream thing was just so awesome and fascinating because I probably dream lucidly more often than like regular dreaming. And because of that, because I'm almost always like half awake while I'm dreaming, I don't get a good amount of sleep. So I'm always tired. The more I dream and the more lucid I am, the more tired I wake up. And so it's just like, oh my God, I'd be able to dream and get optimal sleep and wake up and be happy. And like, I felt like somebody needs to make that.
I think we need to yell at Tom, dude. He's just fucked us all up, man.
Yeah.
Look at where we're at, man. Thanks, Tom.
But again, even with all those, John and Victor, but even with all this technological superiority, they're still human. They still make mistakes.
Yep.
And I think that's why he had Penelope Whistler do what she did. Even though people, well, she's a strong heroine, but she's a flawed heroine. You can have that. That's okay.
They played that off really well right there. He actually explained everything in like 3
seconds.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah, it was. We still have this. We still have this problem. We still have suicide, and it was highlighting what had just happened. So,
well, I think he makes the point. It's like technology is easy compared to matters of the heart. What's again going referencing Game of Thrones now? There's this one family who's, I think their words are family, duty, and honor in that order. So you always go with, and that's what came out here. You go with family, like you defend your own first, and then you honor and do what your duties are. So I thought that was interesting, and I think that's what came out in the book here too.
So what's funny is that he was so concerned about how disappointed his dad was going to be when he got back. And, that just never happened. He never had to face that.
Well, that was easy. Yeah, just erase reality. Boom. Yeah, there you go. Bye, Dad. Have a nice trip.
Do that no more.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I think it doesn't matter what the pros and cons of each side. Everything comes with a price, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not magic.
It's power demands sacrifice. Oh, well, yeah, going back to that, the dynamic between Ursula and Jerome. How she, laid down the law and say, no, the kid, Emma is not you, to Lionel, Emma's not yours, she's Jerome's, even though it was.
Right.
Lionel's,
That sucks.
Yeah. And how Jerome lost to Norm because of the World 2 creation.
Yeah. Didn't he lose it in the first one?
No. No, everything went fine the first. No, the first.
No, not in the original. Not what led to the Utopia.
Problem,
the first.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In the creation of World 2, he loses half of his one to his elbow. So.
But and I guess because of that, she stayed with him, and then it's just sad for everybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, he also asks the question, which is worse, erasing all the lives that existed in the former world, or not allowing those lives, to be born in this, it's like, that's such a big question. It's like, how do you actually answer that?
To me, I feel, because I believe in the universal consciousness that all of humans are here to experience life in some way, shape, or form, that if somehow the timeline changes and, these billions don't exist, but these billions do. I think it's all recycled. It doesn't matter.
Right. Unless you're the ones that disappear. like Zhao and
Oh yeah, list the names that he went off on. Yeah.
Yeah. And his 3 girlfriends, ex-girlfriends and whatnot.
Yep.
So in a way, but was he exhibiting some signs of John when he went out, when he went to bed with those 3 women? Right after his mother's death?
Well, I feel like no matter what instance you're looking at, they're all a part of him. No, it doesn't matter. But yeah, yes. I would say yes to your question.
Yeah, that again. I thought of so many other works when I was reading this, like the Star Trek episode where there's a problem with the transporter, and Kirk is divided into his peaceful good side and the aggressive evil side. And and 2 Kirks running on. That's what I couldn't help but think of when this was going on.
It's the multiplicity.
Yeah. But for those, if you like this, yes, if you like this book, I would highly recommend 11/22/63 by Stephen King. To the same time period, but for a different reason.
Okay.
The date should tell you. The date should tell you why.
Right.
So,
All right.
and I haven't seen all of the season 2 of the series yet, but there's also the book "The Man in the High Castle" by Philip K. Dick.
Right, I wanted to read that. I know that's a show too.
Yes. So
I'm trying to look at some of the things that I highlighted. Some of them I'm not even sure why I highlighted, but. So I have one quote here that says, "People also acted like assholes for no good reason, but sorry, I'm trying to tell you about my mother, not my father." And then, "My mother's job was to create a warm, soft nest for him to preen in. My job was to listen to my mother talk endlessly, so she didn't have a nervous breakdown while suppressing anything consequential about herself in case it spoiled my father's expansive mood of cosmic contemplation." And then we sat in his study, the lemon tree that saved his life, outside the window, fat lemons hanging on its branches, ripe for lemon tarts that would never be made for a birthday he would forget and I would ignore. And then I felt like I had to highlight the 16 reactions, which was skeptical, odd, distracted, amused, jealous, angry, thoughtful, frightened, detached, concerned, excited, nonchalant, harried, weary, cheeky, and wise.
And that I thought that was interesting that nobody knew that Ursula and Lionel were having an affair. Like, you would look at the paintings like, well, he was jealous, but why?
But why?
Right.
Yeah. So.
And then the last thing I highlighted was, "I don't believe in truth," he says. "I'm a scientist. I believe in questions and the best answers we have right now. That's all science is, a collection of the best answers we have right now. It's always open to revision. Yesterday's fact is today's question, and tomorrow has an answer we don't know yet."
I love that quote, actually.
I think Bloomy's trying to break down the door.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
I was going to say one of the ones I have highlighted is talking about his Earth 1 parents. They were married within a year and slotted themselves into their respective lifelong roles. My father was the lighthouse, my mother the keeper who wound the clockwork, polished the lenses, and swept all those rocky steps. I thought that was really, really well written. What else I have here for my notes? I'll repeat. It's not a long quote. Talking about his Earth 1 parents. They were married within a year and slotted themselves into their respective lifelong roles. My father was the lighthouse, my mother the keeper who wound the clockwork, polished the lenses, and swept all those rocky steps. So,
oh, that's actually amazing.
Yeah. Today I tweeted, it's amazing how much damage one penis can do.
Yeah.
and the
Where's
author,
my penis? Yes.
The author liked my tweet because I tagged him in it. So.
I reminded of a as a web series where one of the best jokes is like that. And I don't want to say because I don't want to spoil the joke, but if you ever see what was it called? Dr. Horrible. I'll just say that. Yeah. So
why have we not watched that?
I don't know why we haven't
like for real. Like why have we not watched that? Like why is this?
It's really good.
How long are the episodes?
Where do I find it?
The internet.
The internets.
Wait,
I have a Blu-ray of it, but none of that helps you guys with. The other one I have is I felt like a runner who discovers who he is not. I felt like a runner who discovers he is not, in fact, racing in a marathon. It's a triathlon, and not only did he forget to bring his bicycle, but he never learned to swim.
Yeah, that's a hell of a feeling.
Yeah, and as I said, like I said, it's well written. I mean,
I'm gonna do this thing, but I am completely unprepared.
Mm-hmm. Well, I loved it, and
I liked it.
And I don't normally reread books. I just feel like there's so many books to read, period, that the idea of spending time rereading a book. I mean, I know we rewatch movies. I'm sure I've watched Fight Club like a million times, but
Equilibrium.
Yeah, I watched that.
I'm kind of surprised by that, but to be absolutely honest with you, but
that I like Equilibrium.
No,
her choice of Fight Club.
Oh yeah.
What?
No, I do.
Really, I love that movie. That's one of my favorite movies. Like Fight Club,
how
The
many
Matrix,
times some shit
Equilibrium.
But some chickens come out.
Do you not know the quote?
I do, but you got.
I say it all the time. I'm like, sticking feathers up your butt does not make you a chicken.
Chicken.
That's my favorite Fight Club quote.
Anyway.
So, but like, as far as like books that I've reread, the only one prior to this one was The Fall of Reach.
Oh, Halo.
So yeah, and so I mean, I'm sure there's a Harry Potter reread coming at some point, but I haven't done that yet.
So
20th anniversary, right?
So far, the only other book that I reread was Gunslinger. I went back and actually started listening to that a second time, and there was a lot that I missed. Holy crap!
I believe it.
Yep. Well, I've reread Love at the Time of Cholera. This that was my fourth time too, I think. And I reread Angela's Ashes when we did it, because I hadn't read that in years. So I think there's one more. I can't remember it offhand. But it's like it's been so long since I read them, and it's like I'm just reading it for the first time. Oh yeah, I vaguely remember.
Yeah, it hadn't even been that long since I read All Our Wrong Todays, and I still got that. Like, I still laughed at all these different parts because I had forgotten.
Yeah, me too.
That was one of the brilliant uses of the title when they have the John chapter, and then they come back to him and how he misses a day, and it's like that was his wrong today.
Yep.
Like, well done. All right.
So what are you reading now?
I am still reading Sodom and Gomorrah by Marcel Proust, and I am reading The Philosopher's Dog by Raymond Gaeta at the moment, and I will be starting Lincoln in the Bardo soon.
What are you reading, John?
Well, we started Lincoln in the Bardo.
Lincoln in the Bardo, yeah.
What do you think of it, just out of curiosity?
It's
Preview of coming attractions.
I'm having trouble following.
Okay.
I mean, I told him that I need to have a visual just so that I understand what the hell
think
the
I'm
format
actually
is.
going to go back and see if I can do it. How far are we listening to it? Because I think I want to go back and listen and
look
read
at it.
along with it. Yeah.
It's very disjointed. I don't know. I went to like Amazon and started reading reviews, and that's like it's clearly divided.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I kind of agree with this is really disjointed, and I don't know what happens later on, but like the beginning, it was a little silly, but I was able to follow the beginning. But then when it just started quoting all these different articles and books and things, I don't know. It's just
the silliness, the shock value in some of it is ridiculously well thought out, though.
Well, good.
Like from what I've caught, I've been like, I would actually put it in the same category as the All Our Wrong Todays. It's just how some of it is actually explained in a decent way, in a humorous way, without completely ruining the subject.
Right.
We have to see.
I just wanted a preview. Anyway, John, you were saying what you were reading? I'm sorry. I didn't interrupt.
I'm going to stick to one or two at the moment because...
Do you want me to tell you what I'm reading so that you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm reading that too?
Oh, that, yeah. That one.
So we started The Circle by Dave Eggers.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's been pretty interesting. It's told in third person, which I'm starting to, like, every time I come across a third person book, I'm like, this doesn't feel right. I feel like I need to be in the character's head to really enjoy what I'm reading. But
Tom wrote it for you?
No.
Not you.
But even still, so we're reading that. We're probably like halfway through that. And there was a movie that came out with the chick from Harry Potter. What's her name? Emma Watson and Tom Hanks. I don't think it did very well, but I'm eager to see the movie for it. I'm trying to think of what else we're reading. I'm also reading a book called White Fur, which I kind of put down because I wasn't feeling what was happening. It was kind of weird and awkward. Mm-hmm. And I'm still trying to get through Eddie Izzard's memoir. Believe
Oh,
me.
you started that? I wanted to listen to that
I
too.
don't have it. I don't have the audiobook. It's not even available
Oh,
yet.
okay,
I got it like
okay.
yeah. So I'm reading that, and then there's like one more thing. I'm trying to think of what the other one was.
I do have to apologize though. I have to run to the restroom.
Okay. So but those are the ones that like I'm trying to get through right now. I do have to sort my TBR. I watched a booktube video earlier today where somebody was saying that in order to get through their TBR, they're doing a challenge where it's called like alphabet soup or something like that. And so they have to read a book that starts with every letter in the alphabet.
Yeah, whatever way it gets you.
Yeah, so I may try that. I may try that.
We that's why we did the book bingo last year. Same idea.
Great.
So.
So just as a reminder, we have Tom here who is a book club VIP. If any of you guys are interested in joining on screen during our discussions, you can sign up to be a book club VIP on my Patreon, which is patreon.com/Libri Labra. There are some other rewards and perks that are different, like getting a custom bookmark and a handwritten thank you, and just checking out some of the behind the scenes from the YouTube channel on Patreon. So that is available if you guys are interested.
You also get to pick a book. The books, remember, too.
Yes, you get to. We are kind of in a rotation, so all the book club VIPs, when it's their turn in the rotation, they get to pick 3 books, and then the Goodreads community group actually votes on the book. So, but outside of that, I don't know if John's coming back. He's probably not going to come back before I sign off. But thanks again for joining us, Tom. Thank you for always being so open to reading the books, regardless of what they are.
And likewise, I will put you to the test too. So yeah, Mike with Lincoln and the Bardo.
Yes, it'll be a fun discussion, I'm sure. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.